Hello, everyone, and welcome to this meeting. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We're excited to have you here as we explore smart investing and how thoughtful investment decisions work hand in hand with effective tax planning and enhanced tax saving strategies. We are especially pleased to be partnering with Quantel AI to give our clients the opportunity to learn more about disciplined, forward looking investment planning. As tax planners, we spend years building structures designed to protect and preserve our clients' wealth. But one fundamental truth remains: even the most carefully crafted tax plan is only as strong and good as the investment strategies supporting it. That's why I'm delighted to introduce someone who has helped redefine disciplined, evidence based investing, Shyam Sreenivasan, CEO of Quantel Asset Management. Shyam is an experienced wealth management expert with a deep background in risk modeling, compliance driven portfolio design, and systematic long horizon investing. His work blends AI, quantitative research, and fiduciary principles to help investors stay disciplined, fully informed, and confident in their financial decisions. Quantal AI reflects the philosophy: a modern, real time investment engine built to work hand in hand with smart tax planning. Sham, we're thrilled to have you here today. Would you like to add to this about your journey and your experience from?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much, Lakshmi. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to talk to your clients.
Yeah.
I know your clients are very focused on the tax aspect of it. I'm sure they are also interested in the investment side of things. And hence, we feel that this is a great partnership that we have because our clients need great tax planning and advice, and your clients need a lot of investment planning and advice. And that's where this is a natural collaboration here.
Yeah.
So that said, my background is in investments for more than 2 decades. I used to work at Morgan Stanley for more than 23 years, where I was the head of risk and controls for algo trading at Morgan Stanley. A lot of fintech growth that we've seen, all the way from paper flying from the sales to trading desk to everything becoming electronic in thousands of orders a second. So we have seen the entire transformation, and I've been in the forefront of the cutting edge of technology transformation along the way. And our team has also got quite a lot of experience with us to carry forward. A lot of investment managers. I have the head of sales and trading at used to be Morgan Stanley as an advisor, and so on and so forth. So we are in good hands in terms of where we are positioned and all those things. As far as the investment advice is concerned, we focus on 4 aspects of investments, all the way from investment management to investment advisory to investment insights. We'll get into a bit of details there. So we look at the entire gamut of investing. It's not just about investing in the market, but also how to make sure that the overall wealth planning is also considered, right? So we'll go into the details at a later point in time, but I'll give you back the mic, Lakshmi. So let's
Yeah.
get going.
Thank you for the introduction. That was very knowledgeable and very nice to hear all the experience you've had. Let's start with the foundation of this. Can you give us a brief description of how the Quantal investment engine actually works? Because we're all curious to know how we could interact with you, how we can get all this stuff done, while how you're doing it smart enough for us to plan our financial needs.
Absolutely, yeah. So we use quite a lot of technology, as you may have figured out in my initial introduction, right? We rely upon advanced technology where we use a lot of AI. Of course, everything now has to have AI in it in terms of sentence. We use AI, for the last 5 years. It's not a new thing that we adopted. We've been transforming the way that we analyze the data using the advanced technologies. We screen quite a lot of information about the stock market, about the analyst sentiments of the market, about the fundamental factors, who is owning the stock, how many institutions are owning, how many retail customers are owning, and so on and so forth. There are more than 200 different data points that we actually collect on every single security out there. And then we scream it for the fundamental data to say that the stock has to be healthy to start with. Then we look at the technical aspects of it. How much of like market adoption is there? A stock may be a great stock, but like a GE has been around for more than 50 years, but it may not have the same kind of like interest from the investment community like a Tesla would have, for example, right? So we look at all those other technical factors, which is really the forces that propel a particular stock. And finally, we look at the market sentiments, the analyst sentiment, the investor sentiment, et cetera, et cetera. Fuse it all together into a machine learning model, and then we have our own mechanism of scoring the different stocks. Now, after that, we pipeline it. Obviously, you cannot invest in 1,000 stocks, 100 stocks. You have to be very narrow in your selection. We rank those stocks, and then we come up with our own curated list of investable assets, and we keep changing it every month. Because the market shifts happen, the technology, the stock shift happens. There is new data that's always there. So on a regular basis, we keep churning the data to make sure that we are still in the cutting edge of things, and then we create portfolios. Obviously, the investor's risk appetite is one of the major factors here. An investor could be very aggressive, moderate, or conservative, or somewhere in between. So we tailor make our portfolios to what the investor's goals are. The same investor can have a goal which is more conservative in some cases and aggressive in some other cases. So we are able to tailor make a portfolio to what the investor wants for a particular type of an account. So that's how our engine works. Everything is data-driven approach. With a disciplined process, we do a lot of back testing in what we do. So once we do the back testing, we bring the process to actually do the play. And so far, we've been in operation for more than 4 years now. We have got great results to show.
Okay, got you. So I have a few questions that I think would help clients understand how you work under different market scenarios, under different ups and downs and all that. How does Quantel AI actually perform during major market downturns and upwards?
So we are part of the market, right? So if market goes down, we will also go down. But what we do differently is very unique to how we approach our investing as a whole, right? So
Yes.
our portfolios generally have got 30-70 split, where we've got risk management in an active manner, and then we have got a 70% which is focused on a directional kind of investment, whether it's technology, whether it's broad growth oriented investment, and so on and so forth. This 30% is where we are able to dynamically hedge our portfolios based on what is currently going on in the market, the macro conditions, whether it's the interest rate, the labor market, the inflation, and so on and so forth. The nimbleness that we have in our portfolio is defined by that 30, because the 30 can be acting as an accelerator in some cases, where we want to maximize the potential that the market is offering at that point in time, or we can be defensive during that time. Right now, the market is really on a downward slide. There's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of talk about the AI bubble and so on and so forth. So here is where we go and preserve the gains that we got when the market was great by shifting to a defensive mode, where 30% of the portfolio is in stocks which is less affected with the current trend. Of course, the 70% will be affected with the market trend. If market goes down, we will also go down, right? There's no hiding from that fact, right? There's no
Right.
way anyone has a crystal ball. We can say all these things about AI, but AI cannot really predict what will happen tomorrow, right? It's
Correct.
more of a longer term trend. So that's how we insulate the customers from the major drop. Our goal is simple. If market does 10% up, we want to be 15% up. If market
Yeah.
does 10% down, we want to be down 5%. So we want to be better than the market in the long run. When I say long run, we are talking about 1 year kind of a time frame, right? So when we take these kind of disciplined process of being able to dynamically hedge the market using that 30%, we are able to achieve good results most of the time, right?
Right. So how do you integrate? Will you be more conservative or more growth oriented? How do you decide the risk levels? How do you integrate like the ups and downs into that conservativeness, or more risk oriented, or more aggressive? Or how do you decide that?
So the
so what
first
decisions? How do you
is,
make the decisions?
sure, the very first thing is investor profiling. Investors risk appetite, because everyone is different. Somebody could be in the early 30s, somebody could be in late 50s. It all depends on the profile of the customer, what they want to achieve. Just because somebody is 60, we don't really bucket them into conservative. As I said before, a 60-year-old can have a $3 million portfolio, $5 million portfolio. All they need is about $500,000 to have a next 2 year of like income from that, if at all they wanted. But the rest of it could actually be in a proper growth framework, because US is a growth market, US is a growth engine. If you invest with discipline, anyone can invest with the growth mindset. It doesn't have to be defined by the age. That's how we define it. Of course, it's up to the customer as to how they want to define their risk profile. So that's number one, is defining the risk profile. Now let's assume that we have a customer who is aggressive risk profile person, right? Mid 40s, mid 50s, or early 50s, etc. So what we do, we still define that as a 30-70 split. 70% is going to be in companies like Palantir, Nvidia, Tesla, Microsoft, Google, etc., etc. Of course, that list can keep changing. We say that 70% of the portfolio is split among, say, 25 different stocks or so. The 30% is currently in gold, or gold, a combination of gold, silver, and cash, right?
Right.
No matter how risky the risk person they are, our hedge will automatically go into a conservative mode to be able to preserve the capital. We don't want to see, because our stock typically has got a higher beta. That means it can actually go down much deeper than the market when the market goes down. So we want to be at least at the same level of the market when the market goes down. So
Right.
hence we have the 30% that actually goes into a cushion mode or a defense mode.
Right. Perfect. So I'm sure you set up some benchmarks and all that whenever you're looking at clients' portfolio and stuff. What benchmarks will a particular client's portfolio be compared to, or who determines the right benchmark? Like,
So
I'm sure,
we have. Mhm.
clients
Go
have
ahead.
that question. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So we always use the benchmark of S&P 500 for moderate, aggressive, and very aggressive. We don't want to compare with anything less than that. There's always a comparison. You can do more. Like Nasdaq is always a higher volatility than S&P 500, for example. But we use S&P 500 as a gold standard for moderate and above. But obviously, moderate is too much for a conservative basket. So for that, we use Vanguard Bond Index as a benchmark for comparison, because the goal there in a conservative index, conservative basket, is to either preserve the capital or grow at a very conservative phase, right? A 6%, 7% growth. S&P typically has got 10% growth. So you cannot compare a 6% growth portfolio to a 10% portfolio. So it depends on what the risk profile of the portfolio is for us to set the benchmark. We don't use MSCI global index and stuff like that for benchmarking. And to be honest, a lot of advisors, a lot of advisory firms, big firms, don't even use the benchmark. They say, oh, we target a 7% return. A lot of customers suffer from that because there's no benchmark to which they are compared with. They just get an absolute return of 7%, 5%, 6%, and they're paying a hefty amount of fees for the advisors for not even performing to the benchmark levels. If assuming S&P is a
Right.
benchmark, it should be at least a 10% compounded. That means the money has to grow every 8 years or so. Our
Right.
goal is to grow it at every 6 years or so. That means that we've got a better target. It's not S&P. S&P is our benchmark, but we want to shoot 5% above S&P 500. That's the way that we position our aggressive growth portfolios.
Awesome. That's great to hear that. So now I know you guys, everybody uses AI nowadays, right? So I know we all use that. And is our money actually managed by Quantel, or does the AI just give recommendations, or how do you use AI as a tool? I'm sure you use it as a tool. How does it help you decide, or do you just go by those recommendations, or do you analyze the market and then decide how to go about it? What is the trend that you do?
That's a great question, Lakshmi. Thanks a lot for asking that. I wanted to bring it up myself. Yeah. So we are AI, we are using AI as an enabler, as a tool. AI doesn't ultimately take over our ability to do our own due diligence, our own questioning of the list of symbols and all. Because when you have 5,000 symbols to choose from, even if you cull it down to like a high quality stock, it still adds up to 1,000 stocks. and so many things are happening in these thousand stocks, right? Every single day, some news happens, some analyst recommendation happen. It is just absolutely humanly impossible, particularly with a small team, to do all those things. So we use AI from that point of view to be able to take in all kinds of data, fundamental data, technical data, sentiment data, and so on and so forth. Let the AI score it based on the performance of the stock, historically speaking, to the current input, and say, how is it expected to perform, so on and so forth, right? Now it is provided your foundation or a platform. Now, with that platform, we still have to put our human intelligence to construct it in a well optimized portfolio. And that's where our quant finance engineers come in, using a different kind of technology called quant finance, quantitative finance, using optimizer, Markowitz optimizer. There's a lot of math around it in terms of how to construct a portfolio that fits a particular requirement from a regulator, from a volatility point of view, from a risk point of view, right? That's how we use AI. But there's a second aspect of AI, which is more the fun aspect of AI from a fintech point of view. If you're a customer of Quantel, you can link all your accounts with Quantel. You can also link, including your bank accounts and credit cards and so on and so forth. Now there is an AI that's underneath it, which is LLM AI. It's not. This is not the AI that we use for investment AI. That's the
Right.
more traditional, regular, the regression techniques and all those things that we use, LSTM techniques and all we use. Whereas this LLM based technology is more about you being able to ask a question to our AI engine as though you're asking a question to a human agent. So we use our proprietary data to be able to answer questions about your portfolio, about your market, about the various different selections that we have.
Right.
So pretty much any topic under the sun regarding finance, this AI engine is able to answer to the customer, right? So we open up this AI for our customers so that they can import their portfolios that they have it elsewhere and even ask questions. Hey, what should I ask my advisor? Why is it not performing well? Can you tell me these are the area, what are the areas that I need to focus on in my next meeting with my advisor? So our
Sure.
AI engine is able to do that.
Awesome. That's perfect. And as me being your own client, I want reassurance and personal constraints are respected, and my level of risk preference, all of that you're taking into account individually as a person, right? So in that sense, like if I ask AI and then I go with the LLM or whatever your tool we're using, if I ask that and then AI gives a signal saying that, okay, this is not a good choice, this is not the right choice at this time or whatever, how do you take that signal forward and how do you mitigate my risk as well, and at the same time comfort me with like whatever is my risk? How do you educate me in that respect?
Yeah.
Does that make
So
sense what I'm asking?
yeah. So your conversation with AI is your conversation with AI. Of course, we have access to what you're asking, what it's giving, and all those things. So there is always going to be a disclaimer, even at ChatGPT, that
Yeah.
ChatGPT could be wrong, right? It could go wrong. It could give
Yeah.
a wrong answer, and there's this concept of hallucination and stuff like that. See, this is purely an information that you can. It's very knowledgeable, educated information, but take it with a pinch of salt. You don't say, oh, just because Quantel AI said so, I'm going to buy this particular stock, right? We will never ever say that, go and buy the stock. We'll
Yeah.
just give you all the facts in front of you for you to take an opinion. But when you talk to me as an advisor or my team as an advisor, we act as a fiduciary in your best interest. So the level of engagement that you have with a human on the other end is very different to what you can have from an AI. AI is a tool of convenience, but don't use it as a guide, as a bible to just follow. You need to still cross check with an advisor, human advisor. Could be us, it could be any other advisor, but there is a fiduciary angle that is there when we talk to our customers, that we only advise what is in their best interest, and we don't generally throw some advice to them. Yeah.
Right. So does Quantal strategy work for taxable accounts and retirement accounts differently, or is it very similar, going parallel to each other?
No, it is different. Taxable advice, you may bring in some, positions from your ESOP, for example, in your individual account. You may have humongous amount of capital gains, which you may not realize. I have a lot of clients who have more than double their actual investment in terms of capital gains from their company, shares, or even their own personal investing over a period of time. So we cannot treat it the same way as a non taxed account, like a deferred account. So deferred account is, we've got so much more flexibility and control to do what we want to do and change the course along the way. Whereas a taxable account, we take the consideration of what is the capital gains, mitigate the capital gains against all the historical losses that you may have in your tax books. So that's where your team and our team can collaborate in terms of what are the capital losses that your client has, and how can we offset those losses with some of the gains that they may have. They may have a single stock exposure on their company holdings, for example. We'll try to offset some of the single stock exposure risk by taking advantage of the carryover losses that you may have in the books, and so on and so forth. But once it gets said, the ability for us to control the portfolios by diversifying it, we don't have these single stock exposures and stuff like that in our own portfolio. But we will then, to the extent possible, we'll use our strategies on even a taxable account. But we are always conscious of the capital gains, that impact that is there. So our goal is to always make everything long-term capital gains instead of short-term capital gains. So hence the approach that we have for a taxable account is very different to a non-taxable account.
Right. Perfect. So when you work around our, like, will you work around our existing holdings like legacy stock, properties, real estate, private investments, all of that? Obviously, it's not going to be a clean slate. Obviously, we're going to bring in our money, our investments to you. How do you work around that existing holdings?
So again, if it is a deferred account like IRAs, 401k getting rolled over, then we just talk to you and say, this is what we are going to do. We'll just liquidate. There's no tax event on that particular case unless you are post-retired. Even that, it's a W-2 income that comes in whenever you withdraw. So
Right.
retirement account is an easy slam dunk. We just do what we want to do with, of course, informing you what we think is the right thing at that point in time. A non-retirement account is a consultative process. What do you have? How much is the capital gains? Right today, actually, one client called me and said he's wanting to sell all his position in his company, and I told him, hey, we have just 2 more weeks before the end of the year. Hold off, because you've got a significantly large capital gains that is going to. This is what is going to be the effect of that if you did it today. So then he got panicked and said, "Oh, this is so much of capital gains that." So sometimes the customers themselves don't know the impact of tax
Right.
on some of these holdings. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
advise them, by taking, whether we manage it or not, we look at their holdings, their portfolios. We actually work around it in terms of giving the right kind of advice that will mitigate the impact of taxes for them. Right. So that is
Perfect.
something that is a one-on-one basis. It's a
Right.
case-by-case basis. It's very different. There's no single answer to
Correct.
any of these questions.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm already working with somebody else, right? Some advisor, like brokerage accounts. I already have all those. Will Quantel, like, I'm sure you will integrate it, but will you complement that setup? Like, obviously, I don't want to have everything in one place. As a client, I'm thinking in those terms. Like, I may not want to have everything in one place. So I may have Fidelity, I may have Quantel, I may have E-Trade, whatever. So are you able to complement that setup and advise us accordingly with your setup?
Another great question. Thank you, Lakshmi, for that. So what we have is these four boxes, which I alluded to at the beginning, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
very first thing is Quantel Invest, where we open an account on your account in Interactive Broker or Charles Schwab. If you already had an account in Charles Schwab or Interactive Broker, you just need to assign us as an advisor on those accounts, and we can then manage it using our portfolio strategies and stuff like that.
Okay.
Just simple thing. If you don't have an account in Interactive Broker or Charles Schwab, if you say I have an account with Fidelity, we open an account in either one of those two platforms, and then you can transfer that account to this particular platform, Charles Schwab. Both are very big firms, as you know, and they are publicly traded companies. So the money is going to be custodied at the broker. We are operating the money. Your account will stay as your account. Not even a single penny of that account will move outside your account. It's only going to stay within the account. So that's the Quantel Invest, where we manage the account and the strategies and all those things. The second part, which is the Quantel Advice, is exactly what you referred to. You may have an account with Robinhood, you may have an account with Fidelity, anybody, E-Trade. You can just link all those accounts using the OAuth technology, which is basically you're not exchanging your password or anything like that. You're exchanging a token. You may have seen that in so many different bank apps. So many different apps now allow you to link all their accounts into their platform. That's exactly what we are doing. Your data stays with your bank, your broker. We get a dump of that data in a read-only manner. That means we cannot change any positions there in the E-Trade account, for example. We get your holdings data. With that, our engines will get to action, analyze that,
Sure.
understand the risk that you have. Is it matching with your goals? What you need to do, what you should be asking your advisor, etc., etc. So that's the Quantel advice part where we are purely acting as an advisor while your main advisor in the other place, if you're self-managing it, then you're managing it yourself on the other side. But we give our advice again as a fiduciary, we do it, but you're the one that's ultimately acting on that.
Right. Okay,
So
perfect.
the third one is the insights where we provide just purely information. Hey, what
Mm,
is your view on Nvidia? Is it too late to invest in Nvidia? You can ask those questions, and this is where AI really comes in, and we provide a very uh, comprehensive analysis on various different stocks that you may have, and or you may want to ask question about. We give our view of the top 10 stocks to invest in this current market environment, etc., etc. Every week it gets published. You can subscribe for our insights and get a lot of market knowledge about what we think, what our AI engine thinks, and so on and so forth. And finally, and not the least for sure, is the family office. As I said, investment is one aspect of wealth. Trust and estate planning is a very important aspect of wealth planning. How do you protect your wealth that you've amassed it, hopefully, to be not losing it in taxes eventually, right? So there are lots of different strategies that we apply from a tax situation point of view, by creating these trusts to make sure that the trust is the one that's used as a beneficiary. Trust is the one that your family is creating for the investment. Trust is what you invest in future, whether it's a house, whether it's other properties, and so on and so forth. So we make it a very comprehensive approach. One aspect of comprehensive approach that we offer to our customers is tax planning, but we are not tax planners. We are not tax experts. That's where we punt what we refer our customers to experts like yourself, right?
right.
So they are the ones that's going to, hey, Lakeline is a great partner that we have. Why don't you talk to them for the specific needs that you have?
Right.
They may have a huge payout on their stock options that year. How do you mitigate the stock taxes because of that? Those are areas where experts need to come in, and we don't profess expertise in these areas, and we
Right.
would rely upon one of the many partners that we have in these areas. So
Sure.
estate planning is a very important aspect that all of our customers get for free. We have a couple of tools that we subscribe to, top-notch tools that allow them to say, at the age of 85, when I think I'm going to, pass away, or 90, how much money am I going to have? So these kind of tools actually have got forecasting technology there. It looks at all your holdings now, looks at what is the typical expected growth rate at different phases of life. It takes a lot of input about what your expenses is going to be in different phases of life, and project out what you need to do, how you can reduce your taxes, etc. So those are the tools that we offer it for free for our customers once they become our customer.
Right. Okay, perfect. That was going to be my next question. Do you guys offer estate and trust planning? But you answered that, so that's good. Like a lot of my clients are looking for estate planning and trust planning as well. So it would be
Absolutely.
nice
We
to get that.
Yeah,
Get
one
that
thing we
support.
offer to every customer, but if a customer has got $100,000 invested through us, meaning we are managing it,
Right.
then we offer it for free. There's a lot
Oh,
of
nice.
consultation hours that we spend on this, first studying the inputs that they get, running the numbers with the
Mm-hmm.
customer, and an ongoing basis. We just offer all that hours of our service for free if they have $100,000
Right.
account with us. And the
Right.
second thing is, if they don't have it, then we charge a nominal consultation fee for the number of hours that we spend on the estate planning. But the tools that we offer for free, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now, as now that you brought up trusts and estates and everything, so will Quantel help me manage the risk across multiple entities like my trust, business, personal accounts? Like, obviously, I am already with you guys, so now as a client to you, I want to know whether will you manage risk across the multiple entities, or is it just purely only the investment base?
No, no, no. When you link an account, one of the first questions that we ask on the accounts is, what is your risk appetite on that account? You may have a Robinhood, account as a play account, right? You want to put in a
Right.
$50,000 just to try out different investment ideas. Somebody might be saying something in the party that you may get excited, say, I want to put some $10,000 in that trade, right? That is a different kind of risk profile compared to your retirement account. So we ask, what is your risk profile on those accounts? Whether it matches the risk profile or not, we will alert you, right? When things deviate from what the stated objectives are, we will tell you that this is actually not what you want it to be. So every single account that we get exposed to from your end, we will look at it from a risk angle, because Quantel is risk first as a company. We are risk aware. All of our investment is from a risk point of view, and that's what we give the number one importance. Our goal is not returns. Our goal is better risk management that will eventually give good returns. And
Yeah.
that's how we operate across all the accounts, not the ones that we just manage, right? Even the
Okay.
linked accounts will be tagged with a risk profile and say
Okay.
what is the risk that you assign for that particular account.
Okay, perfect. As a new client, right? Obviously, I don't know what all assets should I include to you with you in your company, what I should give you, what I should not put in. All those kind of questions come into play when we initially start. Obviously, you're new to us. Like as a client, you're new to me. I want to make sure that I am giving you something that that I am going to be confident of, and I'm going to be. I know, okay, this is going to be really good. How do we decide which asset classes to use, include or exclude from you or from anyone else for that matter? So how do we decide
So
that?
we can, yeah, we can set up. That's where the initial introduction call really helps, right? At the end of this, you would already see a button that would allow you to set up a half an hour call with us, right? Again, it's a free
Okay.
call. There's no obligation for you to become a client or not. This is more of an exploratory call for your clients to
Okay.
get to know us, for us to know them, and so on and so forth, right? During that call, you can always say, okay, I've got this much in this particular broker, this much in my 401k, this much I have it as tax deferred versus tax. So we analyze all these things and then say what would be the best starting point. You can always add more along the way as you get more comfortable. But if you don't have a big ESOP, kind of a situation like the stock ownerships kind of situation with your company, for example, then you may be better off managing it yourself because there is absolutely no tax situation there. But if you've got a single stock exposure that you want us to manage, from writing put options as a portfolio insurance, etc., these needs advanced skills where we can come and help. We've got
Okay.
clients who've got $1 million of their Google stocks from their company over a 15-year career that they have. That's no matter what, we are not going to get rid of Google stock. It's a great company to
Yeah.
start with, but also, it is a good, long-term holding. But how do you mitigate the risk? There are techniques that we use using options to be able to reduce the risk. So these areas is where we can help immediately. But then, of course, the retirement account is, as I said, is a slam dunk. We can just get managing it immediately. And one other important aspect of things is a lot of people don't give enough importance for retirement account, a 401k account or an IRA account. Retirement is when you've got the biggest compounding growth potential. Somebody who retires typically with a $2 million with a standard kind of approach can retire with a $8 million if they give a little bit more attention for the
So
retirement portfolios.
yeah.
Because the compounding effect, the extra 5% that you gain or you aim to have on a consistent basis, right? In the last 10 years, 15 years, we could have done that. S&P plus 5%, right? It's not very difficult to do. But if you did that, now you're talking of a night and day difference in the retirement account value. Now, what does that make? As people grow older, let's say somebody is already touched 60, they know how difficult it is to, to create new money. Whatever that they have is the money that they have invested that can only grow, right? It's not like
Yeah.
new infusion of money. So the more
Yeah.
that you can get to that point before 60, the better it is, because that can actually have a huge difference. When I say huge, I cannot stress enough on that word huge, right? Because
Yeah.
that's where that compounding really kicks in. And a lot of people, unfortunately, put that 60-40 mix that all these big firms give. I don't want to name the names, but big
Yeah.
firms, give that kind of portfolio, and they get a 6%, 7% average return in the retirement account, which is actually
Sure.
very unfortunate. And that's
Yeah.
what we focus on as a primary focus is how do you create wealth post retirement during the active career of our customers.
Sure. So the other question I had was obviously Lakeline Tax has international clients, like we do service them throughout the world. So how does Quantel strategy, how do you measure it? Is it suitable for international investors or US expats or, people who are living outside of the US, but they're still having to report everything here as a worldwide income?
Sounds good. Yeah. So we have customers in tax-free havens like Singapore and Dubai. So any and every investment that even Europe, some countries in Europe don't charge any taxes at all for their investment capital gains. So that's a very straightforward thing, right? We can just buy and sell without really worrying about any taxes. But then we do have some customers from India where they are going to be taxed the same way capital gains, long
Right.
term, short term, all those different things are there. So we are going to be again tax aware for them. Even if they are reporting the capital gains from the US, they have to report it and the Indian income. And we don't do taxes, but we are tax aware. We want once we know where the client are filing the taxes, then we are going to bucket them either as tax deferred client or the account is tax deferred or taxed account, and we act accordingly for those clients. Um, but from our overall investments, the global investments point of view, we have partners similar to the tax partners like yourself. We have partners of family office in India for some of our customers in India that we refer them to use their advice or their services for dealing with any investments in their local provinces. We have a lot of customers here in the US who have still some assets in India, for example, and we just use professional services to take care of it rather than we trying to give our opinion on an area where we don't currently have enough knowledge. So we just keep it to US market. Any investments that they do in US markets, we can manage it as a taxed investment or a tax deferred investment. But anything outside of it, we just refer to our partners to help them with.
Okay. So now that you have answered all my technical questions about the investment part of it, one thing that I also want to ask you is that I'm planning to liquidate my stocks or whatever next year, 2026, 27. Will Quantel help me prepare the investment side of it to see like how the growth is or how which ones to will you give me the options that I can choose so that way I save on taxes at the same time I don't lose a lot of money and how to mitigate that gap. Would you be able to guide us once I become your client, of course?
Absolutely, yeah. So once you become our client from within our app, from the web portal that we have, etc., you can request for a meeting with our team at any point in time. So you almost have a direct access to a 24, I would say not 24 by 7, but 365-day concierge service, right? We have a calendar. You can book our team, yeah, our meeting with the calendar, with a team in the calendar, and so on and so forth. Any questions that you have as a client that you may have about your investments elsewhere or what we are managing with, you can engage us and ask us to provide what we think is the right solution. If we don't have a solution or if we don't know a right solution, then we'll find the solution through a partner that may, let's say somebody is coming in, specific question, how do I save on taxes? I have got this huge payout this year. Obviously we will refer to you in this particular example. What are the investment opportunities that can avoid tax? Recently we got introduced to this QOZ investments, like qualified opportunity zone investments, where you
Right.
invest something in these government declared projects, and
Mhm.
all the gains of that is completely tax free when you get out of it after a few years. So these kind of like knowledge that we actually gain from our partners that we refer our clients to. But yeah, anything that you have about your investments, about your wealth management as a whole, you can count on us to be able to provide answer on a one-on-one call. And that's a very unique differentiator to our service compared to somebody else's. Think of like any of the large firms that you can come up with in your mind. You really cannot get that, right? First of all, you get to talk to them once every 6 months or once in a year. And
Yeah,
if anything is outside of what they're managing, they're just going to charge you heftily, or they won't even provide you that service, right? We are differentiating in that we are actually going to be a concierge service in terms of being able to provide any wealth slash investment related question that you can share with, and we'll be able to provide you answers, to the best of our abilities.
perfect. Now that we come to the compliance part of it, what compliance framework does Quantel follow? Like, how do you secure, how do you ensure investor protection? What are the compliance routines that you follow?
So there are a couple of areas, right? One is compliance from, as a fiduciary, we have to report to you, the risk profile, your performance of the portfolios, and some of these things are coming from the independent party, which is the broker themselves. So you have access. Broker sends you the actual performance of our portfolios every month or every quarter, depending on what your preferences are, as a statement by physical mail that comes to your doorstep, right? Or you can say, I don't want physical mail, just send me electronic mail. That's your choice. So that is something that gives a true picture of what your portfolio is looking like, what are the kind of risks, a lot of statistical data that's there, which we will help you understand if you want. If you say, hey, it's saying something about Sharpe ratio, it's saying something about beta value, it's saying something about volatility, we can help you understand all those things as a fiduciary so that you get a good understanding of your account as a whole, right? So
Sure.
from other compliance, a lot of compliance is actually taken care of by the broker themselves. Like your securities are protected by the broker, the Charles Schwab or the Interactive Broker. They are the custodians. As I mentioned before, we never take possession of your portfolio in our control. It'll remain in your account, in your 100% control. What you're asking us to do is, hey, on my behalf, can you trade? That's where it's a limited power of attorney, LPOA, right? Our power of
Perfect.
attorney is we trade on your behalf without having to ask you a question. Hey, I think that there is a great opportunity. Oracle is down 15%. We think that we should buy 2% of your portfolio in Oracle. Those kind of questions we don't have to ask you waiting for an answer, because we're dealing with almost 300 customers right now. We cannot be waiting for answers from each and every customer. And it's a strategy and a model driven thing that we operate. So that power of attorney is what we operate with in taking actions on your account. But the physical cents and pennies and dollars that you have here stays with you and your account. And the broker ensures that there is compliance from their angle in protecting the security and privacy. No one can act on your behalf and pull money on your name, because they have multi-factor authentication and stuff like that. So we don't
Right.
have to worry about it. As far as the GDPR and all those different things, we ensure that the customer's data is protected on our end. We have various levels of cybersecurity protection,
Right.
but the ultimate protection is the money part, and that money part is guaranteed by the broker, as for you as a customer.
Perfect. So how do you communicate major changes in portfolio risk, right? Like by email, dashboard, or alerts, like however we choose. I know we all have to choose the preferred method of connections, like, text message or email or dashboard, whatever. How do you, how does Quantel communicate major changes like that? Like just now you gave an example, like Oracle is down by 15%. Do you want to purchase it? Like, I know you make the decisions more as and when it comes. Like it's not something that I understand that you don't have to wait for me to answer those questions, but how do we get notified of all those things?
So you have alerts within the app. As a push notification, we send information real time as things change. You can always choose how much you want to be alerted, right? Some people don't want more than n number of alerts, because once it becomes too noisy, it distracts them from other important stuff. So it all depends on customer to customer basis. But one thing that we do is, on a end of the month, we give a investment newsletter. It's not specific to a particular customer's portfolio. As I said, that is a specific customer portfolio report is being sent by the broker, from their end as a compliance requirement. but we do have a regular call with the customers on the customer's demand, right? Maybe once every 3 months or once every month or whatever. So we do engage in a conversation on how the account is doing and what we think we need to be doing on the account based on the current market conditions, etc. But as far as the day-to-day alerts are concerned, a particular stock went down in your holding, etc., you can choose to turn on the alerts on the app
Gotcha.
or the web app, and you just get notified as part of just being a customer of ours.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. One other question is that how do we get started with Quantel AI? Like, do we have to have a minimum investment? Like, say, will you take us only if I have $100,000? Like, how do you decide that? And can I just start with, say, 20,000, 30,000? What is is there a minimum investment that is required to engage you guys?
So there is no minimum requirement. As I said, the Quantal Invest part where we are managing the account, we are suggesting to start with $100,000 for our advanced strategies. We do have an ETF based strategy, which is not as dynamic, as changing, because ETF itself is a little bit, what to say, secure, because there is a lot more securities. It's not a single stock. An Oracle can go down 15%. ETF typically doesn't go down 15% unless there is a market meltdown, right? So there is a basic portfolio that we have for various different risk profiles that people can start with any amount, right? So we
Right.
don't really have a restriction on, but the real value will really come in only when you have a significantly large size account, let's say starting with 100. Our recommendation is 250K, but we are okay with starting with 100, leading to 250K. Until then, that kind of like active investment management doesn't make sense, because you need to have
Sure.
enough volume in the portfolio for us to provide active management. There's a lot of
Correct.
work that we do to actively manage, and the transaction cost is actually going to really be a weight on the portfolio if we do it on too small a portfolio. So
Right.
the real account active management is coming with 100K and above. But of course, as the money grows, there are various different strategies that we open up because of the size of the account. Somebody has got $1 million account, somebody has got a $3 million account, etc. We have different aspects of it that we have ability to cover. Starting with 100 is where one particular strategy can be applied. Anything less than that, we have a basic portfolio that they can start with.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much for giving us the insight of working with Quantel AI. I think it's time for some question and answer. If somebody wants to ask a question, you can type in the Q&A part of it, so we can get this answered. And Sham, one last question. Let's bring this home. How does it look for Lakeline Tax clients to connect with you? Like, say somebody wants to talk to you next week or sometime. How do you want us to integrate with that?
So right in this webinar, there would be a button that actually allows you to click, and it'll open up our Calendly link. So you can set up a call during our available time within our team that it's opened up. So any
Okay.
open slot for 30 minutes. It's an exploratory call with no obligation whatsoever. So we'll be more than happy to talk about what you want to get out of our services, if we are a good natural match or not. Those are the kind of
Yeah.
things that you can decide after that call. So we're happy to engage in that 30-minute session with your clients using that button. You can just set up the time, and we can also
Okay.
send the link after this call by email,
Right.
so they get that. But once we have that call, then we will have our team help you get set up, whether it's getting onboarded onto the account, linking off the account, setting up an account with Interactive Broker or Charles Schwab. If you already have an account, to be able to link it with us. There's so many different things that we actually handhold our clients. So we are not going to just send you a link and you say you take care of it. We actually physically give that kind of help to our customers to get onboarded. So at no point would you be doing things alone. We're always going to have us to help you with all the getting set
Sure.
up part of it.
All right, awesome. I don't see any questions right now, but I think it's definitely, something that I'm sure some of my clients will benefit greatly moving forward. And I've been talking to them about Quantel AI, And I will definitely send out a message as well. And this recording is available later on for them to watch if some of them could not join today.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, this recording can be sent out by email, and once they register, they can see the recording at any time that they want. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And what is the one last question I want to ask you is that I know you mentioned this a little bit, but how do you differentiate Quantel AI from other financial planners like E-Trade, Ameritrade, Retirement, whatever, all those companies? How do you differentiate it? I just want that to be explained one more time so that way everyone gets to understand that.
So the very first thing, as I said before, somebody is managing their retirement account with one of the large firms with a 60-40 kind of blend, 60% being equity, 40% being fixed income, right? The kind of performance is very lackadaisical. It's not really that good. When good times are there, they're not able to benefit from the market. When bad times are there, or when the market is on a downturn, they're not dynamically hedging the risk and all those things. It's like basically going at the same 30 miles an hour, even on a highway. So in our case, we are able to adjust the speed of your car, your investment to, oh, you're going on a highway, let's go at 55. Okay, we are going into a construction zone, let's go at 15 miles an hour. So we are able to adapt to the market conditions in a dynamic manner, which many of the firms, large firms, don't do it historically speaking because they are not incentivized. The second thing many of the large firms do is just allocate the money into a mutual fund. They themselves are not allocating the money into the stocks. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them, the advisors themselves are not as involved in the decision making of investments. They say, oh, I'm going to invest in this Fidelity or Vanguard mutual fund or Fidelity mutual fund. They just put the money in there, and all they have to do is just manage the relationship. So we are very different because we are actually got the quant finance team that's empowering the investors to take individual stock positions in areas where there is significant amount of growth. Recently we've been growing in the next gen area, like all the new data centers, new quantum computing. This kind of exposure, being able to get into those exposure, get out at the right time, and so on and so forth, that you don't get from a typical traditional investment advisors group, right? That's the second thing. The third thing is just the concierge that we talked about, right? We are part of your team. That kind of like engagement is something that our customers don't get from the large firms. I myself used to work in a large firm before as a client of theirs, etc. It's just not possible for them to engage in a client in that kind of manner unless you have like tens of millions of dollars. Now what we have done is democratizing the whole thing of somebody who's got a multi ultra high net worth capacity to bring it down to people who have got like a couple of $1 million in their retirement account, as an example. So our target audience are people mass affluent, high net worth, ultra high net worth, for sure. But we are helping people all the spectrum. Even somebody who's starting out, they can also get started with us. But our day-to-day concierge service that we talked about really, is people with $100,000 or more that they want to do more with what their capital is and grow that relationship over a period of time.
Perfect. That's awesome. We're so excited to partner with Quantel AI. Thank you so much for being here, Shyam.
Thank you,
We
Lakshmi.
really
Thanks a lot.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the time that you offer. And definitely, I'll invite you to one of our webinars where you can give
Sure.
our customers the tips in how to reduce the taxes on their tax bills. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank
Yep.
you all
Thanks a
for
lot.
attending. You guys have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.